Here we are. I think we're live. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to a live stream, a lunch break live stream. I may actually rename this as the lunch break live stream. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So I just wanted to jump on here and do a live stream about a few different topics I had, as the title suggested. PSA returns, got a few mail items, and then talk about some eBay stuff that people had been not really bothering me, but asking me about, wanting to know some ins and outs of eBay stuff. So I figured I'd cover that. And if you're watching this live, jump in the chat if you've got any questions of any kind. It doesn't have to be necessarily related to what I'm talking about, but anything you want to talk about, if you're in the chat, jump in there. We may do some giveaways if we have enough people jump in, but if not, hey, that's okay. We're just going to get rolling. So first and foremost, everybody watching this, thank you, whether you're watching on replay or watching this live, thank you for the subs. I finally got past that 1,000 sub mark, and it is just amazing. Like, it's a milestone that is taken 3 years ago, is about when I started this channel. It's taken that long to get to this point. And wrestling is just a niche thing, so I know that growing the channel is going to be slow and steady, but I've made so many awesome relationships with people as I've gone through making content, and it's just been a lot of fun. Again, a creative outlet. So now that I've hit 1,000, what's next? More of the same, maybe more live streams, more content, just continuing to talk about wrestling cards and get people involved. So again, thank you. Even if you've just if this is your first time watching, or if you have been a day oneer, or if you've just stopped by and, hey, you gave me a thumbs down because you thought I sucked. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Anything that you guys have done to support my content, I am greatly appreciated for. So let's talk about the PSA return. This is a more recent one, 2 days ago. As you can see, like, I've opened the box to make sure the cards were in there, and I knew the grades, but I kind of forgot about them until just recently. And I'm like, well, let's just do a live and jump on and talk about it. So some of these cards are mine, some of them are not. So, and again, if you guys are interested in doing some kind of group sub type things, if you don't have a PSA account and you want to sub some cards, get a hold of me. I can, for a very, very minimal fee, I can toss you into some of the subs that I'm sending in my own stuff with, and we can get you hooked up that way. So let's run through these cards. Again, some of these are not mine. Some of them are mine. And we'll kind of talk about what is and isn't PC stuff. If you're seeing this and you're interested in any of these, you can let me know. But if it's a PC item, can't have it. All right, first up. Undisputed, 2020 Undisputed Rhea Ripley on-card auto. This one got an 8 with the authentic auto, so that's okay. Here's the 2021 Finest WWE Roman Reigns. This one got a 9 as well. Pretty cool card. I wish they had more parallels or variations of this. Are there autographs in that? I haven't seen. I really haven't checked that. I haven't been chasing any of those inserts, so I'm not sure on that. This one's a pretty good one. 2020 Finest, Roman Reigns, X-Fractor, PSA 10. Gotta love that. Those 3 cards are not mine. I have had some of those in the past, but I sold them. Actually, I could probably just separate which ones are mine. Riveting content here. I can't remember. I don't think this one was mine either, but here we go. John Cena. This is the NWO Slam Attacks, PSA 10. Can't beat that. And speaking, let me finish this and then I'll talk about another sub that I got. This one is mine, but I just decided it doesn't fit my PC anymore. The 2004 Leaf Rookies and Stars Brock Lesnar football card got a PSA 10. Very excited about that one. We've got another Brock Lesnar football card. This is the Upper Deck Sweet Spot, numbered out of 999, PSA 8, which is, whatever for this card. This card, actually, these next 2 cards, let me find it. These are PC ads for me. I knew they were not going to get very good grades, and I didn't care. The 2001 Fleer WWF Get Real KB Toys. We've got the Stone Cold Steve Austin's 316 day. Shout out to Steve Austin. Perfect timing to get this one back. And PSA 7. And the reason that I have the connection with these, I've talked about it before. In fact, you can go out on my archives and watch the Steve Austin video where I did the top 5 Steve Austin cards. The connection with KB Toys. I love KB Toy Store. So much nostalgia, so many awesome wrestling figures and cards that I got at KB Toys. And we had to get The Rock to go with it. Two of my favorite talents from the Attitude Era and from this set. So had to get the connection with KB Toys Attitude Era Wrestling. Moving on, we've got a couple more Rock items. Got the 97 Panini sticker that everybody was chasing for the longest time. I got an 8 on this one, so not terrible. And then a 9 on this one. Again, pretty pleased with that. And the last card in this PSA submission, I've talked a lot about, I try to get the connection with the talent, and let's talk about Roman Reigns for a minute. I've had a lot of Roman cards, and they continue, like, I get good deals on them, but they continue to not really be the focus of my collection. But this is one that I think represents what I think Roman represents in this era of wrestling. This is the 2022 Prismatic Entrances. This is the Mojo out of 25. I got an 8, which isn't great, but again, there's only 25 of these, and Roman walking out with Paul Heyman hoisting the belt up in the background with the Usos. When I think of Roman Reigns, this is what I'm always going to think of. His dominant run has been this image right here. So that's a PC item that I will probably hang on to. I've sold a lot of the other Roman cards, but that one I will probably keep. All right. Talk another PSA return that I have coming in. I got killed. So as you can see, we got a lot of 8s and 9s and 10s on this. But I have another vintage sub that's got autographs, and ultimately they were authentic cards. All the autographs are authentic, so I guess at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. But I got killed on the grades, and I'm just curious. Like, there's a lot of people that say the All-Stars are very hard to get decent grades on, but I've sent in cards that I thought were actually going to get lower grades in the past of All-Stars that actually got better grades than some of these other cards that got authentics or altered or 5s or whatever. And I'm just, I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll do another live stream when that sub comes in. It's already been shipped. And I think I have another one on top of that coming. Lots of PSA subs coming back now that they're back in the swing of things, but stay tuned for that one. So let's talk about some mail. I don't have a lot of mail, and here's why. I buy basically cross stuff, Wrestling All-Star signed stuff, or ECW autos. That's still my main focus on the PC. But most of that stuff I've been sharing on social media. So if you've seen the cards that I posted on Instagram or Twitter, like, there's no point in me showing them again here because you've seen them there. That being said, I do have 3 new items, and I have a new podcast dropping this following Monday that will talk a little bit about how these cards kind of fit into the new PC. And let's just jump very random. Anybody know Bob Vance? Vance Refrigeration from The Office? This is an autographed custom card signed by Mr. Bob Vance himself. To go with that, we have Beth Grant. Who is Beth Grant? Well, as you can see where she's signed here, this is the homeless lady that appears at Michael and Jan's dinner party from The Office with Dwight. So, Beth Grant, custom card autographed. And this next card fits in with that, but this may be my favorite item in my PC to date now. It may be bigger than the Wrestling All-Stars. It may be bigger than any Karrion Kross card that I have. The Office Uno Kevin Chili card autographed by the man himself in the PSA slab. I just think this is too cool. And I'll talk about it in the podcast, but I'm really hoping that at some point we get some official Office trading cards that have autographs in them and parallels, and some similar to what they've done with Zero Cool, with like the Jackass series, or with Stranger Things, stuff like that. So again, you'll hear more about the upcoming Office PC in the podcast. Moving on to eBay tips and tricks. So I have had a lot of requests from people to talk about eBay and just some ins and outs of what kind of goes on. Like, most people know that I sell on eBay at a huge volume, lower end cards, huge volume, and a lot of questions about standard envelope. What store should I get? Why should I get involved? What kind of labels you used, etc. So I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's start with talking about the differences in these store subscriptions. When you get into this, you have to kind of think to yourself, why do I want a store to begin with? Am I just getting a store because I've got some stuff I want to get rid of? Am I getting a store because I want to turn this into a business? What is your goal? So you can start out with I think they actually have a free store. I'm not sure. But if you're just looking to get rid of items and you don't really care, auction, like if you're talking cards, auctions are not the best right now. But if you're talking any other items, like it really doesn't matter. Just if you're got a closet full of stuff and you're just wanting to recoup some money, throw it up, get whatever you can get for it. That being said, if you're looking to start out with the intent of selling as a like regular thing, like a side hustle, a hobby, maybe you want to turn this into a full-time job, like whatever it is, start with the starter store. Do not jump into the higher stores. We'll talk about that. Let's just break it down now. Starter store on my notes, $4.95 a month. That'll allow you 250 listings per month. You could step up to the basic store if that works out for you. $21.95 a month. That will take you up to 1,000 listings. And at this point, you do start getting some additional perks. You get Terapeak, which is a sales performance kind of tool thing. I don't really use it. You also get credits for shipping supplies. So at this $21.95 a month point, eBay starts giving you quarterly coupons that you can use towards bubble mailers, tape, boxes, anything like that. That really starts cutting down on your costs if you ship a lot and use a lot of boxes and whatnot. They also start giving you lower final value fees. The more you pay on these stores, the lower fees you're going to get. So from this point forward, all the stores that you go that are higher than this, you get the Terapeak information, you get the shipping supply credit, and you will get the lower fees the higher your store is. So that's basic. Let's step up to premium. This is currently what I have. $59.95 a month allows you up to 10,000 listings with everything else that I've spoke about before. Lower fees, you get more free auctions. And the thing with this is interesting. It says 10,000, right? If you look at my store, I actually have, I think, 14,000 active listings right now. And a couple things on that. I guess that trading cards actually fall into a category that you get more listings for within the store settings. So there's that. I don't know a lot about it, but it's just something that I've kind of found out. And then the other aspect of the listings and the amount you get is that during the pandemic, eBay came out and said, hey, if you have this kind of store or higher or this kind of store, whatever, we're going to give you X amount of listings. And I think now with the amount of listings they gave me, plus if I use my trading card category listings, I will actually be able to list up to 50,000, I think is what. And then if I go past that, then I'm going to have to probably move up to a store. So it it's a little tricky kind of looking at the amount that you're allowed to list and what you can actually list. So it's a trial and error thing. And if I get more information once I get to that like 50,000, if I get to that point, I will just do another video maybe and talk about kind of the ins and outs of that. So moving up to the Anchor store, I don't. This is something I could see myself eventually getting to, but not right now. Once I pass that 50,000, if it's gonna, if I've still got tons of inventory to go, and I'm running out of listings, we'll go with that. $299.95 per month. That's 25,000 listings. And the key catch with this category and the next one is it says dedicated customer service. What does that mean? If anybody has ever dealt with eBay customer service directly, they're not great. So could this be worth it if you're doing tons of volume and you could get a dedicated customer service rep to help you with that? I don't know. Maybe something I'll find out eventually. And then the enterprise store. Now this is like, I think probably Burbank. My goal is to kind of be like a fraction of what Burbank is, or hey, maybe I just do so much volume that I could turn into Burbank or a smaller version. Probably not, but that's a goal that I can continually try to set. $2,999.95 a month. That is a lot, and that allows you 100,000 listings. And I'm sure they allow you more than that. And another thing that I've heard from other people, and I don't know that this is a fact, but I've heard that if you reach out to eBay, a lot of times they will raise your listing limit if you can prove that you're selling a lot. Again, I don't know how true that is, but something to potentially look into if you have a store and you're needing more listings or whatever. So, let's go back to the prices of these stores. Let's start with premium. That's what I have. When I initially got this, I thought $59.95 a month. I've got to pay that just to have a store. But what it doesn't include, obviously, it includes, lower fees. It includes the credit for the supplies, right? But what you kind of don't think about is the like what eBay does. eBay is the biggest platform and it's treated like a search engine a lot of times. And it's going to get the most eyeballs. Everybody wants to do their Twitter sales or their Instagram story sales, and that's great if you can pull it off. But for me, eBay is just that's where everybody is. And when people are looking for a card or a collectible, they seem to go right to eBay. So that's why I think that you're getting a lot of kind of back end value for what you're paying for the store on top of allowing you to list all of these listings for free. Yeah, you do have to pay the final value fee, but once again, the higher your store is, the lower that fee is. So that's a plus. And it all depends, going back kind of full circle on what kind of store you need. It kind of depends on the volume you're wanting to do. So if you are again wanting to turn this into a side hustle, a full-time job, or you've just got tons of inventory and you need to get rid of it, do the math, kind of, project out what you think you're going to make off that, and then see if that monthly fee is going to be covered. Because if you're doing, as I said, I've got 14,000 active listings at the time of this live. And that more like the amount of volume that I do on low end cards more than covers my monthly. So you might be surprised, depending on the type of volume, how much that may actually more than cover your store. Because I know that's a big barrier to entry for people to start a store, is that initial cost of what the store is going to cost per month. So um, that's just kind of a little bit about stores. Moving on, I had some questions about organization. So, how do I organize my inventory? You can't really see because the camera's down lower, but if you watch any of my prior videos, you see these boxes behind me. A lot of that is inventory. I use the card storage boxes to store all the cards in, obviously. And what I do is I sort them out. So I'll sort them by set by type, so by sport or non-sport, wrestling, boxing, like whatever it is. And then I sort by year, and then I sort by set, and just kind of break that down. Anytime I get a collection in, I sort all that out, and then I break down the sorting within a sorting. So I put all the cards in numerical order. So if I've got, and this is the reason being, so if I've got three of a card, then when I go to list that, I can list a quantity of three. And I know a lot of people don't like to take the time to like pre-sort, and some people may say that it takes up a lot of time, and it does. But I find that if you're just listing random cards, which a lot of people do, and they can, pull it off, that's fine. That you end up listing duplicates. So if you have, one card over here, but you have the same card in this box and the same card in this box, you might be listing those separately, and you might have three of the same listings. And the reason I like to do the sorting to where I know how many duplicates I have, do I have one of this? Do I have 10 of this? Is because I have my store set up to where people can come in and buy quantity and get a discount. So say they're a super collector of, we'll just say Roman Reigns, all right? Or they're going to a Roman Reigns signing, let's just say. Maybe they want to go in and buy a base card, and maybe I have 10 of them or 15 of them or two of them. The thing is, they can get those at a discount in my store the way I have it set up by buying in that quantity. And I think people may be losing out on that opportunity if they're just doing, one off here, here, here. So that's a little bit about the organization of my inventory and storage. Again, different things work for different people. Let's talk about best shipping practices, and specifically with PWE. PWE, if you don't know, plain white envelope. And a lot of people kind of balk at shipping cards this way. But if you're doing low end, and what I mean by low end is like $20 or under, if you're doing, whether it doesn't matter how many cards it is, we'll talk about that in a minute, but any cards that are like $20 and under, I think can safely be sent PWE. If you go over that or slabs or anything, don't even try. That needs to go with bubble mailer. And most people know how to ship stuff in bubble mailers at this point. If not, let me know in the comments or in the chat, and maybe we can talk about that in another video or so. So I'll just tell you what works for me as far as best shipping practices for PWE, because I use PWE in almost all of my eBay sales. So penny sleeve, of course, you got to have the penny sleeve. And then I like to use card saver ones. These are also what I think PSA prefers cards to be shipped in, and they're the bigger ones. And I think they're rigid enough that they're going to protect the card, but they're not so rigid that when they go through the sorting machines or go through post office, that they're going to get, broken or torn up or bent. Like sometimes I've seen that happen with top loaders. They'll rip through the package, or they get bent, or they tear up something. So I will use top loaders occasionally, but I do prefer the card saver ones. So you got the penny sleeve in the card in the penny sleeve, card in the card saver one. Now what? What I like to do is take copy paper or junk mail. You know, you get those like ads in the mail, anything that I can use to ship with paper wise, and cut the length of the card. So if this is the card, I would take the piece of paper and I would cut it even with the edge. So line up this with the edge of the paper, cut straight down, fold it this way, and then I have to cut part of the labels, which we'll get to in a minute. Cut part of the labels. I kind of use the excess of the labels to tape it down. I put my business card in there, and then I put that in the envelope, which I'll talk about the envelopes I use. Put some eBay store branded eBay tape on the back of that. You're good to go. I think I've sold up to 17,000 items on my store at this point, and I have had, I don't know, less than 10 problems overall. And talking about the shipping practices, what I like to do is use the I think it's the cheapest possible. It's the envelope number 6, I believe. They're like 3x6, and the reason I like to do those is because there's less paper, and if there's less paper, there's less room for the card to move around inside there. A lot of people like to use the standard envelopes, the big ones, but when I've done that, I've had paper get ripped off. I've had cards actually get bent a little bit in there. So just for me personally, it doesn't work as well from my experience. So as far as like how many best shipping practices on how many cards, it really depends on the card stock. So if you're doing just standard paper card stock, you can fit sometimes up to 10 cards. And what I like to do is you can actually safely put 5 paper cards into one card saver one and put both of those card savers together. And then you can put a very small amount of painter's tape to tape those together. Again, wrap that whole thing in the paper, make sure it's secure, put it in the PWE. A lot of people don't like a lot of people think that you may be cramming 5 or 10 cards into these card savers, but it really does keep them snug without damaging them. And I've had maybe 5 to 10 problems out of thousands of cards that I've sent out. And usually, if that's the case, which we'll get into the customer service aspect, you can refund them, you can make up the difference. Again, talk about that in a minute. So that's kind of what I use for the envelope, the paper, how I'm shipping. So what do I use for the labels? Because a lot of people have had questions on this. I use the standard envelope program through eBay because the shipping is actually cheaper than if you just go put a stamp on it. Not to mention, with that eBay standard shipping program, you get tracking. Now, we'll talk about tracking in one moment also, but let's talk about how you get the label to begin with. And I use the Brother QL1100 thermal label printer. It's going to cost you quite a bit up front, a couple $100 last time I looked, but well worth it. I've shipped thousands and thousands of PWEs using this label. And again, you just trim it, put it on there, use the excess trimmed part to kind of tape the paper. I am a big proponent of reusing as much stuff as long as it's not going to compromise the shipping of the card. Anything that I can cut down on costs of shipping product, like I said, using the free junk mail that I'm going to throw away in the mailbox anyway that I don't need, or any kind of packing material, anything that I can reuse for shipping purposes. I try to do that as long as it doesn't compromise the card. So you get your label, you print it off eBay, everything's good. Then you take it to the post office. And I think it's a common misconception of, okay, well, USPS scans this. Yes and no. You will see that there's a tracking number on there. USPS, I've talked to my local postmaster, I've talked to local post office employees. They don't know a thing about this program. So it's interesting that they handle the product, but yet they don't know anything about it, and it's all handled strictly through eBay. Very interesting. So you get the tracking number, and there's a QR code type thing on there. And from my understanding, when it goes through the sorting machine, this machine somehow can scan this QR code, and that's how it keeps track. A lot of times what you'll get is you'll have someone say, well, it says my card is delivered, but I don't have it. And what I figured out from talking to people and asking eBay and just kind of looking around on the internet is that it actually will show it delivered once it hits the closest sorting facility. So whether you're a buyer or whether you're a seller, if your card says it's delivered and it's not there and it was shipped through eBay standard envelope, just be patient. Once it says delivered, sometimes it can actually take like anywhere from a couple of days to like a week after it shows that to actually show up. There are other times where someone's card literally will be shipped out and arrive at the destination at the next day and show that it hasn't been shipped, or show that it's been shipped and the tracking hasn't updated. Again, the post office doesn't deal with any of that. So that's all I know. There's a lot of it I'm sure that's still a little bit of a mystery, but hopefully that helps you with that aspect of the eBay standard shipping program. So, you open the eBay store, you've got your printer, you've got your shipping practices down. All of a sudden, you have a problem. How do you handle this? How do I handle this? Again, I haven't had a ton of problems. Most of the time, it's questions that it says my card's delivered, but it's not, and I just gave the answer to that. Or sometimes this has happened again, 5 to 10 times total. Is the car will be damaged. So I know I sent out a package that looked like it had been ran over by a truck. It looked like part of it caught on fire. There was like black burn marks somehow. I don't know if that had to do with the thermal label getting hot. Cards were just bent up horribly, and there was actually holes through the plastic through the cards. I don't know how that happened. So how do you handle this? It it kind of depends. You can go a couple ways with this. If there's something that's just flat out damaged and it was like $1.50 card, and you can tell that the person's trying to not scam you, just send a refund. Again, it's $1.50. It's not going to kill you. Not to mention through the eBay standard shipping program, you can do one of two things. You can put in an insurance claim if you so choose. I have tried that and I've not had a lot of luck with it because you have to wait like I think it's 30 days after you actually print the label is when you can file a claim. And by that time, I've done so much volume that I've forgotten. But I treat my eBay store. It is a business, so I report all that information for taxes. I just write that off as a loss. So anytime you need to give a refund like that, and again, it doesn't happen much. But if you do get something that is the card bent up or something legit and you don't think that person is scamming you, use your best judgment, give a refund. Or if it's a higher end item or you think that the person's kind of scamming you, that's up to you. Technically, I believe that eBay allows like 3 days of viewing before, like, you can say no returns, but I think the person actually has like 3 days to do a return. So it's a case by case basis really on that. I would say more often than not, I'm going to side again if it's a lower end card, probably just giving them the refund and moving on. Because most of the cards that I'm selling for $1.50 or $2, I'm into it for like a penny. So it really doesn't matter. Just keep the customer, especially if they're repeat customers. Like, you got to take care of them. So returns and refunds, again, that's kind of a case by case basis. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut this short here. Not a lot of people in here, so hope if you're watching this on the replay, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the lunch break live stream. I think I'm gonna maybe rename it as that. Who knows? It kind of depends on when I do these. I guess is when it'll be a lunch break for people. But if you're watching this on the replay, again, thank you. Again, if you're watching, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and make sure to hit the bell icon. So anytime I'm doing these live streams, you'll be able to get notified about it, and you'll be able to jump in the chat and come have fun and hang out and have great conversations about wrestling cards or whatever else that we end up talking about. So any questions, reach out to me on social media. Check the links in the show notes to all the different ways that you can help show your support for all the content that I put out. Again, thank you for being part of this and helping me hit that 1,000 sub mark. It's just really fun, huge milestone, and it's kind of that thing where all your hard work, you hit that mark and then you just keep going. So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, again, we'll see you on the next video.